resetting usernames and passwords, as well as creating users for the School District of Waukesha. Those of you with permissions to reset passwords, look up usernames, and create users will now see a new search item called User available to you under your search functions. You can search for a particular person, and just like you would do a normal individual search, you can put in just a little bit of the name, the full name, and you'll get a list. I'm going to click on a staff person at this time so that you can see what they look like. You'll notice that it says employee behind their name, and if you click on the user account underneath their name, this is how the user accounts will always appear. With the 000 behind the name is a student, with the word employee and no zeros behind the name is a staff person. Something common to these users is that you should never touch them. Don't edit them, don't reset them, don't do anything with them. If a staff or a student comes to you with questions about their user accounts, send them directly to the Infinite Campus Help Desk or to IT Help. These are not something that you should even mess with. You'll note that you shouldn't touch it because it says the account is successfully linked to Active Directory. Please use Active Directory credentials to log into campus. That is because this username and password is not only connected to Infinite Campus, it's connected to Skyward, to Google, to Blackboard 9, and a host of other things. So messing with this here is potentially a huge problem, so don't do it. Now let's look at users who we have perhaps multiple of. You'll notice we've got two Randy Thomases. I searched for Thomas R. Randy, and I get one Randy Thomas who has no username or password established, and I have another Randy Thomas who does. Now, if I have Mr. Randy Thomas come in to ask for his password, I'm going to want to figure out if I have the right Randy Thomas before I proceed to give out a username or password or create a user account. So because I can't tell from here which Randy Thomas I'm looking at, I'm just going to do an all people search for the same thing, and I'm going to look at the relationships. So this particular Randy Thomas is father of Christopher Thomas, and this particular Randy Thomas is the father of Noah, Virginia, and Zachary. So they are two separate people. They do come up in the user area in the exact same order as they come up in the person search. So you're just going to want to double check that if you can find yourself in a situation where there's more than one of the person with the same name. So the first example I'm going to go through is in the case where we have Mr. Randy Thomas who comes and says, I don't have a username at all. What you're going to want to do is find out what Randy Thomas's email address is, and you're going to enter the entire email address for Mr. Thomas, and this will ensure that he knows what his username is, it's easy for him to remember, and he can set his password to be the same password he uses for his email address, and things are more simple for him in logging into Infinite Campus. So I'm just going to pretend that Randy Thomas's email address is randy.thomas@gmail.com, and I'm going to check the user, and it says, oh, username is okay. If you're using the full email address, the username is always going to be okay because there isn't an ability to duplicate email addresses across any of these platforms. So in all likelihood, this is going to be okay, and then you're just going to want to give it a password that is easy to remember. So I always use something like summer 2016, something that is easily reset. You're going to want to set this to the campus portal, and then you're going to click create user. Once the user is created, you're going to also click force password change, and that way the next time that Randy Thomas at gmail.com logs in, he's going to be forced to change his password from summer 2016 to something that he'll remember the next time he logs in. So now if I click go, I can see that I created a user for the first Randy Thomas. And let's say that the second time Randy Thomas comes in, I actually am now talking to the Randy Thomas who had already created a username and password. All I have to do is search for Randy Thomas again, and then I would say, I see your username is WR Thomas, and I'll reset your password for you. It is going to be summer 2016, summer 2016. You click reset. I'm not going to do that right now. And force password change, save, and then tell Mr. Thomas what his new password is, and you should be good to go.